Welcome back to the Migraine Mentors. Thank you for joining us today. My name is Dr. Thompson Maesaka. I'll be your host. The usual tandem, Dr. Eric Reese, is with a patient that traveled from North Dakota this week, so he will not be with us today. It's just going to be us. So we are going to talk about a topic that is a very, very common topic, especially recently. It's come up a lot in our migraine patients, and that is histamine. Specifically how it triggers migraines, the reason it triggers migraines, and how to avoid that. It'll spill into a little bit of talk about just how to manage migraine with food. So some common themes you've probably heard. A lot of these things are really worth reiterating and mentioning several times because it's such an important topic that doesn't get covered in most medical models. And we've seen firsthand the power that proper diet can have on migraine intensity and migraine frequency. So if you've joined us before, there's a few sort of ground rules that we like to cover. The first, just sort of in terms of easy to hard, is first electrolytes. You got to supplement them. They help. Basic migraine 101, right? If you're not supplementing electrolytes because of the genetics of the condition, it tends to make them more frequent. The other easy thing you can do is supplement. There are a variety of research studies, a lot of them are on our website if you're curious, that point to nutrient deficiencies, either from nutrition or from medications that, if deficient in, can lead to a lot of migraines as well. Just off the top of my head, a lot of them are B vitamins, magnesium, curcumin, fish oil, a lot of these things that are just really easy to supplement for well-being. The easy way, the shortcut, there's a supplement by a company called Melina. Supplement is called Mighty, and it's basically an all-in-one supplement specific for migraine. So start taking that if you're not already. We're not affiliated. We don't get paid for recommending it. It's just the only one that we found that actually was like, hey, it's a lot of things that trigger migraine. We should put them all into one instead of buying 13 supplements. It's kind of overwhelming. The third thing that we cover frequently for food is go Google foods that trigger migraine and just don't eat those. There's a very well-established list of foods you're probably already familiar with to some extent. Chocolate, aged cheese, wine, citrus fruits, aspartame, MSG, things on that list. If you haven't cut those out, that's a good place to start. So if you've done all that and you're still having issues, nutritionally speaking, there's sort of two extra levels that I call these kind of the hard levels, because they do typically require a little bit more cutting out more than you're probably used to. And it's just a more robust strategy that makes you change more. So one aspect of that is blood sugar regulation. It's a really, really important aspect in terms of preventing migraines. If you look at all of the research around epilepsy, which migraine and epilepsy behave pretty similarly, they're treated with a lot of the same pharmaceuticals. The low glycemic, keto diets, paleo diets, vegan diets, all of those diets that include a lot of foods that take a long time to break down, typically will give you a very stable source of fuel, sugar, which your brain loves. When you have big crashes in sugar and you rob the brain of its only fuel source, it tends to get a little touchy. Any tissue that's unstable tends to be more unstable when it doesn't have fuel. So you can either go that route, or you can go the route that we're going to talk more about today, which is the low histamine route. And so if you've listened to a few of these, you'll hear us talk a lot about migraine genetics. Not so much my parents have it, so I have it too. More of unique genes that you have that cause your body to function differently than other people. So some people are born with like weird melanin genes, which lead them to be albino. They have just a lack of pigment. That's one example of a genetic expression that can lead to some weird things. Migraine has a very specific set of genetic differences that lead to, specifically in this instance, a lack of ability for you to break down histamine. So if you eat something that your body does not agree with, that may be not allergic to, but sensitive to, your body cannot break that down very well because of a lack of a specific enzyme called diamine oxidase, if you're super into the nerdy stuff. Can't break it down so it circulates, and when it circulates, it makes things worse. Specifically, histamine is definitely involved in the allergy process, which is why you get kind of a scratchy throat or sniffly if you eat something that you're sensitive to. However, it is also very, very in the forefront in the process of pain. So if you get a paper cut on your finger, a couple things will happen. It will swell up and get red, and it tends to get very sensitive and almost kind of itchy. So both of those things, histamine is a big part of. So when you get the paper cut, your vessels will get bigger, so more blood can come to the paper cut, so white blood cells can prevent it from becoming infected. That's a lot of histamine. It vasodilates. It makes blood vessels bigger. It also sensitizes the pain receptors close to it, so you know, like, ooh, I should stay away from that. I should not touch anything because it might get infected. So in the context of migraine, if you eat something you're allergic to or sensitive to, you have all of this free circulating histamine around because you can't break it down. It is going to vasodilate things, which if you're having a migraine is the worst thing because it's going to pulse more. And it's going to sensitize the pain nerves, which if you're having a migraine already feels as if it could not be more painful. So those are two very terrible things for you to have happen as a result of food when you're having an attack. You don't want it to pulse more because it already feels like your head is going to explode. And you don't want it to hurt more because migraine pain is probably the most intense pain humans can feel. We'll go over all of that in a different episode. We probably already have at some point, but migraine pain, as you probably know if you're listening, is just different. It's not the same type of pain you get when you stub your toe. It's not the same type of pain you get when you have a headache. So anything you can do to reduce the amount of pain is helpful. So the next logical question is, okay, if I can't break down histamine, what kind of foods trigger histamine? It's a lot of the similar foods as the Google list of things that trigger migraine. So aged cheeses, which are cheddar, Parmesan, and blue cheese. A lot of dairy products, yogurt, sauerkraut, kimchi, a lot of those fermented foods. Soy sauce, vinegar, just reading some off of a list here. Cured meats, so deli meats, hot dogs, pepperoni, sausage, canned fish. Generally, alcohol with migraine, it's kind of a bad decision. Specifically red wine and some forms of like beer because of the fermenting process is just generally harder to break down. And then there's nuts, specifically walnuts, cashews, and peanuts, chocolate, bananas, citrus fruits, spinach, tomatoes, and avocados. So if you can wrap your head around those foods are in general tend to produce histamine, even if you're not fully allergic to it. Like most people, when we have this conversation in the clinic, they say, oh, like, oh, I don't get scratchy throat, and I've never really noticed that I'm sensitive to these things. And you can still have a histamine response and not feel it. It's kind of a spectrum. So if you're allergic to it, that means like your throat will close down and your eyes will swell up, right? That's a really intense example. Sensitivities are more in the middle of the spectrum of, okay, I may get a little scratchy here and there, but I don't have a full-blown reaction to it. There's still room in that spectrum for you to produce histamine and not necessarily feel it. So the safe way to make sure that you're not producing that reaction is just to avoid those foods. And when you look at a lot of the foods that are included on the safe list, the pain safe diet program is what we call it. It tends to kind of cover both bases. So both bases meaning low glycemic, just a lot of healthy foods, which definitely helps with migraine prevention. And then the nature of it not producing histamine also has a way of making the attacks less intense. So if you can find the list very easily online. If you just Google histamine friendly diet, we send a lot of our patients a PDF from, I think it's either Harvard or Johns Hopkins. It just goes over kind of how to do it. I would start there. We have a testimonial on our website. It's theneuralconnection.com. If you scroll down a bit, there'll be two videos, one of which was a woman who was having debilitating attacks. She was taking all of her Imitrex within the first 10 days of the month. And then the last 2/3 of the month, she was kind of SOL, out of luck. And so all we did with her, we didn't even really do a lot of rehab, was just get her on the histamine friendly diet. And now she takes, I think, 2 Imitrex a month, and she's been on it forever. A nice side effect of some of this stuff is you end up losing a fair amount of body fat as well, which was her experience also. So give that a look. This is absolutely one of the most powerful ways to manage migraine long term. The reason more people don't do it is because it's kind of hard, but it's only hard for the first couple weeks. So if you can get over that hump, get familiar with it, you will absolutely see benefits in how you feel, how you look, and then over time, the frequency of migraines. I have yet to have somebody commit to this and not see a reduction in either the intensity or the frequency. So give it a look. Thank you for tuning in and listening this week. I believe it'll be Dr. Reese next week, as I am on my first vacation and feels like forever. So he'll take good care of you guys. We just want to thank you for coming and listening to these. If you're a regular listener and you've been reading this for a while, we just genuinely wanted to help. We see so many people with migraines, and we have such a soft spot in our hearts for them, because we truly feel like you guys don't have, you just don't have adequate care out there. The standard of care for migraine is often very poor. You are often sort of brushed off as just another migraine case, just give them the drugs and get them out. And there's so much more out there to help. And the thing that we're really trying to get across here is all of these things are things you have access to. And if you feel empowered, and if you feel like you have access to the things that are going to help, ultimately what that's going to do is lower the perceived stress of migraine, which is the worst, most stressful condition ever, because people don't believe you and they say they're headaches and blah, blah, blah. It goes on and on. I don't have to tell you if you're listening to this. So we just want to say thank you. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for following along. We will continue to do our best to keep learning, keep researching for you, and bring you the most up-to-date information around for natural migraine management. So we are the Migraine Mentors. If you're not subscribed, go ahead and click the subscribe button below. If you are subscribed, thank you so much for coming on this journey with us. We promise to continually keep it fresh, and we'll do our best to keep giving you the best stuff we can find. So my name is Dr. Maesaka. Thank you all sincerely for being here, and we'll see you next week.